Zouk was our first baby.
What's in the name?
We thought we'll bring in something very proudly Indian, not just because this is made in India, but very India inspired in prints and designs.
ऐसी क्या learnings अभी आपके पास जो आप अपने younger self को देना चाहोगे?
Bags have a way to sneak into our homes, in fact, right? And they struggle to get out of our home.
उनकी सुन लेनी चाहिए थी तब.
A lot of entrepreneurship is just about the heart.
But why bags? Like, why did you choose bags only?
Company's ability to do more is constrained by the bandwidth of the founders. That is what leads to the end of a company.
You mentioned about Instagram and YouTube. So how is social media placed in your marketing mix? How much does it matter?
I think entrepreneurs were looked down upon, saying कि ये तो business कर रहे हैं, right? ये तो पैसे के पीछे भाग रहे हैं. Even if you see sort of India's journey till the 1990s, I think entrepreneurs were looked down upon.
Today we have someone who is promoting being proudly Indian through his brand. He, along with his partner in life, founded the brand back in 2016. Join me in welcoming Pradeep Krishnakumar, co-founder of Zouk, to the LocalPreneur podcast by Local Samosa. Thank you, Pradeep, for being here.
Thank you so much, Abhishansa.
Before we delve into the podcast, I want to understand the reason behind Zouk. What's in the name?
Yeah, so at Zouk we wanted to build a modern Indian lifestyle brand, and the name derives from two things. Right? One is really Zouk is a very vibrant dance form, right?
Okay.
And we said in a category that has typically Western designs, very boring colors, right? Black, browns, grays, etc. We're adding some vibrancy to it.
Right.
So hence Zouk. Second is it also comes from Souk, which is the golden souk in Dubai, right? And we took that and we said we want to start something with Z, right? And hence the name Zouk came up.
Why Z?
I think Z to some extent does sound very classy, right? And again, we're B school grads and we had no clue about all of this. It just a lot of entrepreneurship is just about the heart, right? And it just felt right.
Right.
And that's when we said, chalo, Zouk bolte hain and Z se start karte hain. So that's how it sort of really happened.
So when you guys started, ये आप दोनों का ही idea था to brainstorm on the name, or you had someone helping you out with it? या कोई branding team hire की कुछ दिमाग में?
No, absolutely not. In fact, it was just Disha and my idea. Right? In fact, I love to pat my back on this and said I was the one who created this. Right? It was very highly debated topic between Disha and me. But we settled it about 2 years back, saying कि Disha यार मैंने ये बोला था, right? So it's now settled and the credit comes to me for this one. But no, I think it was very much us, right? And I think it's very hard to come up with a brand name.
Right.
And it's one of those things that takes a lot of time, right? You don't know at the end of it if it is right or wrong.
Right.
And time tells you. But that's where we believe it's best for us to just decide it ourselves. And that's the advice I also give to young entrepreneurs or upcoming entrepreneurs, that I think you should just decide it yourself and then live with it and then breathe it every single day.
Right. नहीं बहुत I know कि आप काफी Zouk spotted भी करते हो. And to be very honest, I was traveling and I was carrying a Zouk bag and my husband was carrying it basically. So I wanted to send a picture right there, click a picture and send it to you. Listen, Zouk spotted me. And yeah, and Zouk has become really a very integral part of especially modern Indian office or college going person. So that's kudos to you guys who are embracing Indian ethnic designs in regular wear.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, in fact, that's how it started, Abhishansa. We saw that almost no company in our category was making anything for the modern Indian woman.
Right.
In fact, most of it is even true today. If you look at the handbags, none of them had anything which was for the office goer.
Yeah.
And that's when we sort of thought of coming up with something like this. And it really started from, in fact, Disha started it and I joined much later and she was very kind to allow me to join her. But in that journey, it was in fact started in one of our courses at IIM Ahmedabad, where we go to Kutch, and in Kutch we saw a lot of local handicraft products that Disha and her batchmates saw. Everybody loved it,
right,
and nobody bought any. And we realized that they're not modern in its use case, and hence we thought we'll bring in something very proudly Indian. Not just because this is made in India, but very India inspired in prints and designs, and give it a very modern outlook.
Right.
And that's what we believe that the modern Indian woman today deserves. And we're just one of those many startups who are doing that across categories.
But why bags? Like you saw the design, like Indian art was not like converted in a regular, like the regular art. But why did you choose bags?
Yeah, we looked at different spaces. I think both, and we were clear that we want to make a product company, a physical product company,
Okay.
right? Not a app, right? Or a service in that
Right.
sense. And amongst all the categories, we saw that bags was ripe for disruption. The
Okay.
product had not been innovated.
Mhm.
Mostly products were Western copies.
Right.
Brand names were Western copies, right? And we
Okay.
said, hey, today's India loves India.
Mhm.
So why not bring that Indianness to the product? And hence we saw the gap, and hence we entered with bags. And mind you, we don't come from business background. We
Right.
both are from a very middle class background in that sense, and we don't come from manufacturing background as well. So
Right.
so it was complete outsiders, and you can say hence we were ignorance was bliss for us to understand that maybe it's easy to do that, and that's how we entered in.
Right. So let's rewind a bit before we talk about Zouk as a journey. Now you guys are settled in Mumbai, but where do you guys hail from?
So I was born in Bangalore, then lived in Mumbai for some time,
Right.
then lived in Lucknow for 5 years.
Okay.
In fact, from Mumbai to Lucknow, in Mumbai just AAE was starting. And then I remember the school entrance exam had Nibandh, and I was like, what is Nibandh? Right? So it really started from there. Spent 5 years there and then came back to Mumbai. And then have lived in Mumbai for the longest time. Till 12th standard was here.
Okay.
And then, so from 5th to 12th was here. Then post that, 4 years of undergrad at IIT Madras in Chennai. And then back here for work. And then after 3 years of work, went to Ahmedabad for B school.
Right.
In fact, that is where I met Disha. So Disha and me were batchmates from IIM Ahmedabad.
Yeah.
And then came back to Mumbai and continued. Whereas Disha's journey, she was born in Pune. Her dad is from the defense background. So they've also moved many cities and towns, in fact. So while she shifted a lot of schools, her favorite school still remains KV because she studied in a lot of KVs across. And then undergrad also was in Jabalpur itself. That is where her parents are based out of even today. And then post that, worked with Reliance Power for 3 years, and then B school at Ahmedabad. That's where we met.
Okay. Right. So you shifted to many cities, and you have an experience of IIT Madras and IIM. But how was your childhood? What are the qualities, or what are these things inspired you that made you the person that you're today?
So let me give you a brief idea of who in the family, etc. So I'm the only child.
Okay.
My dad worked with SIDBI for the longest time,
Okay.
right, which is Small Industries Development Bank of India. He was a banker for the longest time. Very passionate about banking, and I've seen him work really, really hard. Supporting a lot of MSMEs and small industries. Right? That's what they do, and that's what he did. And I think he spent his entire career there.
Okay.
My mom was a teacher, so she taught maths and physics in school, and many times we were in the same school, right? Which means that even if I wanted to be mischievous, right, it wouldn't take more than an hour for her to know.
Right.
So I would like to sort of at least call it out that I'm a nice guy in that sense. Right? I was very disciplined in school. That's how I like to believe. I don't know. Right?
It brings out.
Right. So came from a very sort of middle class, hardworking, sort of is what we really sort of saw every day. And those have been imbibed in at least in how we think. Right? So that was my background, and very similar for Disha as well. Right. So her dad was in the Indian Ordnance Factory, and as he retired, he was leading the entire factory in Jabalpur, right? So she's gone through sort of a very similar experience, and we both come from backgrounds where we've lived in staff quarters, and our friends have a lot of things in common because our parents work together in many ways, right? So I think all of those were a lot of commonalities that are there, and that's what our backgrounds are, and that's how we also operate on a daily basis. So doing a business, business karna hai is a very, very different concept.
Right.
And even if you see sort of India's journey
Mm-hmm.
till the 1990s, I think entrepreneurs were looked down upon, saying कि ये तो business कर रहे हैं, right? ये तो पैसे के पीछे भाग रहे हैं,
Right.
right? I think the post-liberalization from 1990 to 2000 is where there was a shift in industries opening up,
Right.
I think a lot of foreign participation opened up, which means competition increased, which means Indian companies were formed, innovation was key, and all of
Right.
those things which are critical. And then entrepreneurship has really picked up.
Yeah.
To now, I think after Shark Tank, even my aunt is like, dilution kya hota hai, CM2 kitna hai, etc. Right? So everybody now understands running a company or starting in a company.
Right.
And I think that has become very cool. And I'm like very, very happy that that has happened, because I think we are still brand starved in India. I think there's space for a lot of brands, a lot of entrepreneurs of different sizes of companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the golden era, if you ask me.
So you don't think it's getting cluttered especially in the D2C segment?
Absolutely not. I mean, think about the size of companies that are getting built today
Mm-hmm.
in D2C space, and how large the legacy players are, and how large is the opportunity. In fact, Abhishansa, every category you'll take, you'll see that the unorganized, unbranded space
Right.
is far, far bigger, right, than the branded space.
Yeah.
In fact, that is why in any category, mass and mass premium actually works out really well, and it's probably 90% plus of the business. And there is, of course, a trend of premiumization that everybody's talking about, from the younger companies to the large players. But everybody realizes that the large size of business still sits in mass and mass premium. And a large part of that is unbranded. So in fact, I think we are brand starved, and more brands and companies will get formed across categories.
Superb. In one of our calls, you mentioned you are a foodie, but a vegetarian foodie, and you have lived in various cities. So tell me, what is your go-to cuisine? What do you like? And हर शहर से कुछ ऐसा कौन सा एक ऐसा शहर है जहाँ का खाना you will go back again?
So pav bhaji is my favorite. I think anywhere I go, I look for pav bhaji. Right? Other than that, I think I have a very sweet tooth, I must say. So right now, I'm supposed to cut down on desserts, but that's not happening. Right? I have successfully tried that many times, which means I've never succeeded in that, to be honest. But I love my food. In fact, I mean, to be honest, while coming here also, I was looking for good places to eat, and I see Joey's Pizza is close by.
Yes.
Jimmy's Burger is close by. So yeah, that's how strong a foodie I am. Right? I spend more time researching around the food than maybe what I have to say in the podcast.
What you have to say in the podcast, you already know. So, but what is your go-to place for pav bhaji? So,
Sardar Pav Bhaji is the most famous name.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, there's actually Cannon Pav Bhaji, which is right opposite the BMC headquarters.
Sure.
Very, very good. It will not look red. The bhaji will look a little bit more brown.
Okay.
But it's actually very, very tasty. And so that's at least my favorite place.
Right. I wanted to understand, do you like Sardar Pav Bhaji?
I like it. So I don't count my calories and cholesterol. It shows clearly in me. But so that Amul butter or the large butter is actually something I like. So,
okay, got it. Other than work, what interests you?
So I love music. In fact, I've learned Carnatic music formally for some time, and have been part of bands where I was the lead singer in campus, etc. So I love music. So these days, so we have a 2.5-year-old at home.
Right.
I'm inculcating some music into him as well, and he's starting to enjoy it. And he spots, oh, that's a flute. He says bass guitar, which is very, very surprising. I didn't think he would do that in 2.5 years age, but he does that. So music is something that I'm very passionate about. You
still continue like singing, playing, performing anywhere?
Not much, right? So
home parties.
Home parties definitely, right? But we in fact used to perform in corporate shows and all of that as well while working, not during Zouk. Right. But prior to that, we used to do a lot of shows. So in fact, we've gone to Goa to perform, gone to Alibag to perform, etc. Used to do that.
Nice
that
side gig you had. Nice side gig.
actually, right? And see, the beauty of it was, so this was with another batchmate of mine and few other friends, and I think we used to get it less for the talent, but we used to get the gigs because we used to quote the lowest, because we were like, salary to aa rahi hai, ye to maze ke liye kar rahe hain, right?
Right.
So I think that was probably our secret sauce. We were called Hakuna Matata, right, as a band, and we used to do a lot of mashups of different songs.
Okay.
So we used to do all of that, but that has now stopped a little bit. But whenever we meet, we of course jam at all point.
We do have guitar in studio if you want to play.
I am only a singer, so you will need a guitarist along with a guitar, to be honest.
Okay. We'll play karaoke then. Not a problem. पर मजे के लिए ये जब काम था तब आप मजे के लिए करते थे, अब ज़ूक के साथ मजे के लिए कुछ करते हो?
I think music is there, catching up with friends is there. I see a lot of series. I'm rewatching Suits now, right, on Netflix. But I think a lot of weekend time Abhishansa goes with our son.
Right.
So वो काफी it's one time when we can absolutely switch off. मतलब switch off in the sense, I feel entrepreneurship में switching off is hard. मुझे लगता है सोते समय भी हम कुछ सोच रहे हैं. But when we are our son, then it is a natural switch off हो जाता है. याद ही नहीं आता अरे ये था. So that is definitely there. But otherwise meeting friends, catching up for dinner, etc. Definitely.
Nice. What are the qualities जो आप में आई अपने दोनों पेरेंट्स में से?
I think the first one would be purely humility, I feel. I think as an entrepreneur, you can always go in saying, मुझे market पता है, customer पता है, product पता है.
Right.
But quite frankly, so many things have happened which have been totally contrary to what we think will work. And others have been, I think, pure stroke of luck. So I think humility is a very critical one. I feel at that all points, we truly believe the customer is the one who's there, and because of them we exist. Otherwise, we have no right to exist. Right? And it's not just us. I think there have been so many large entrepreneurs who've said that. In fact, I remember somebody like Uday Kotak who said that in one of the interviews he was giving. He said, at no point can we take things granted. Right? Even for a space like us, where we are among the top 3 banks in India, right? Top 5 banks, top 3 private banks in India. And somebody said, "Sir, why are you saying it?" And of course, today they have some sort of issues to solve for, etc. But he said, think about large sectors like telecom that has got completely disrupted.
Right.
Right. Sectors like airlines. Like, who were the players 10 years back and who are the players today are so different. Right. If it can happen to the giants in such spaces, it can happen to anyone. So humility, I think, is the most critical one, I feel. I think second is just purely discipline. I feel that it is truly a marathon. There'll be very few, less than 5 instances when you can count to say किसी का 1.5 years में lottery लग गया. Right, I think otherwise it's a long journey, and it's a marathon that you got to run with a lot of discipline and patience. So I think these two come from probably my parents the most.
How is working with your partner? How do you divide your roles, and how do you switch off while you're home? When you're home, how do you have that wall or a boundary?
Yeah, no, I think this was probably the toughest decision we've taken at Zouk. It took both of us a lot of time to. And we are generally a lot more thoughtful. So we spend a lot of time thinking about things and then doing. In fact, we spoke to a lot of couple entrepreneurs. So we have Vinita and Kaushik from Sugar, who are very close mentors for us, and they've achieved so much.
Right.
And then so many other entrepreneurs, couples who run it. Like, for example, the Baker's Dozen. Right? So we spoke to a lot of them. What we realized net, Shansa, is I think if you have clear vetoes and clear distribution of responsibilities, then I think that's the first one, right? Which is key for two partners to work together.
Right.
So that we sorted, and it was very clear what were our strengths and weaknesses. Right? Okay. So clearly Disha is better at product, at brand marketing, and has been running sort of D2C revenue for the longest time. So she took that sort of charter ahead. And as I joined, I looked at sort of marketplaces like Amazon, Myntra business,
Right.
etc., offline business, and then supply chain, and then finance and HR. So that's how we split responsibilities, and we can be very vocal in our thought कि यार मुझे लगता है ये product नहीं चलेगा, या फिर like यार ये channel में ये product नहीं चलेगा प्रदीप, right? Very vocal, but the end decision is our own. So we have a veto over that.
Okay.
Right? So that was the first thing we had to establish. And second is this thing called the work-life balance, right? Which keeps coming up.
Does it exist?
I think the lens is slightly different,
right?
Because we are also founders. Sometimes we control our schedules a lot better. Right? So that means we have a lot of control over our schedules around when we're working, when we're not working, how do we manage work, how do we manage home, etc.
Right.
And the third biggest one, I would say, and I think this can be a really game-changing one, is if Disha gets a call at 11 p.m. When we are holidaying, let me make sort of the worst of the worst situation. At that point, I am totally on board, right, with it, and I don't even, it doesn't matter if I'm on board or not, but I'm still very much on board. In fact, it's the opposite. I want her to take the call. So if he doesn't pick up, I might pick up my phone and say, hey Disha, isko abhi solve karna hai. Right? So that understanding is far easier. Right. Versus otherwise, you never have the full picture, right? And you can always be like, ye bhi is time pe karna hai kya? Right? And why are you looking at revenue or managing investors and also solving electricity bills? Right? Log kyun nahi hai tumhare paas jo karne? All those are so simple to answer. Right? So I feel that is sort of really, really solved for when the two partners work together. And abhi to we have the benefit of so many other large companies in D2C consumer brands itself that couple founders have founded and built. हमारे लिए तो आसान हो जाता है to say कि हाँ, it's a naturally, maybe this is a secret to success. Right? we rather sort of, we don't have to say it. And I think even investor community, etc., has become very, very mature. And we've had the benefit of having some really good investors who've seen journeys of other companies and are very supportive of this.
But how is it different? Well, as you mentioned, you have 2.5-year-old toddler. How is it managing business and giving time to toddler and raising him?
No, I think in this also we've taken a lot of help from entrepreneur mentors.
Okay.
Like in fact, Vinita and Kaushik have been very, very big influence in our lives, and they've guided us a lot on this as well. Right? I think A is when we are at home, we're trying to spend as much time with our kid, and like I said, it's truly magical with him. And then when we are in office, we're focusing on getting things done and working hard in that. So I think that is one, right, that we've sort of said. Second is the ecosystem, right, for us that we have around. So for us, we've been very blessed that both Disha's parents, my parents, they've lived with us for a good 6-8 months each separately, and that means that whenever we are in office, we know that our kid is in safer hands, right? In fact, they're a lot more patient than us. Right? We might bring the entrepreneurial mindset कि आज क्यों नहीं हुआ, अभी क्यों नहीं हो रहा, right? Whereas for them it's like हाँ खेल रहा है, खा लेगा, आराम से खाएगा, उसको ये पसंद नहीं आया तो वो, right? All of that is there, right? We might be a lot more resourceful to say अरे ये नहीं यही है, यही इसी से चलाओ, and all of that. So I think we've been blessed with them being there, and then we have good ecosystem at home to sort of support all of this. It is hard, no doubt about that. But the mission and vision for us is very, very different, right? And we started Zouk before he came into our lives as well. So to some extent, Zouk was our first baby in that sense. Right? And again, both babies are equal for us and equally important, but that's how we've sort of managed. The ecosystem, I think, is the most important one. And one must embrace it, and one must be very thankful about it. Like, we've really been benefits of that.
Our parents' generation is something else only. I don't know how do they have patience, and whatever they used to say earlier, I also feel that at this age I'm feeling, yeah, वो बात सही तो कहते थे, उनकी सुन लेनी चाहिए थी तब में. But yeah, they have more, as you mentioned, they have more patience, definitely. In layperson language, if you have to tell me what is the process of founding a lifestyle brand, from sourcing, manufacturing, sales, looking at any permits, or distribution? How do you go about?
I think it actually starts one layer before, to be honest, to think about what is it that keeps you sort of passionate about. So one is to look at really, is it lifestyle, is it SaaS, is it all the different types of companies that can be founded. I think that is step one. For us, like I said, we wanted to make something which was physical products.
Right.
Brand ka concept abhi nahi aaya tha, right? It's still products. So it starts with really that. I think once you're clear on that, and mind you can never be fully clear. That's true even today. That'll be true even 10 years down the line. You cannot be ki yahi hai, right? But I think you go with the flow in that sense. So it starts with that. I think from there on, you actually want to talk to a lot of existing customers to understand what are their pain points. Why? Because you have to be clear about why should you even exist, right? Or why should a customer keep picking you every single time? And that needs to be revisited almost every day. Right? So even when you today said, hey, my husband carries a Zouk product, the first thing I'm thinking is which product, which use case, is he happy with it, right? Or what can we improve? That's always there. So I think that is sort of fundamentals. Once that is there, and I'm skipping a few steps in all of this because we can talk at length just about this, right? I think from there on, online allows you to start a business very early on, right? And very easily, right? Because there is no need to set up a store and then, decide the brand name, which is permanent, right? I remember when we started our first store, somebody looked at it and said, if this was on the website, I can change the color of the background very quickly. But now this is made, that's permanent. Right? So those are tough decisions in offline, whereas in online, you can really be very, very fungible in that way. So I think online can be the easiest way to start. And in online as well, I think starting from a platform like Amazon, Myntra, depending on category, might be far easier than starting through our own website now. Okay? So I think those could be the starting points. And there, if you have said, I'm going to make a product and I'm going to make this for Amazon, then things can really move very fast. So for example, let's say if I want to make a mic company, right? I keep seeing only 3-4 brands over there. I say maybe we should make a mic company. Then we look at who are sort of potential customers. And maybe if it's some content creators or influencers, then you talk to them saying ki, कहाँ यूज करते हो, कितना यूज करते हो, क्या प्राइस पॉइंट पे लेते हो, एक्सेट्रा. एंड देन फ्रॉम देयर यू गो टू Amazon, figure out what are the options, and you quickly have figured out that maybe a red color mic at 800 rupees, maybe a gap, right? And that's where you then start.
Right.
And then from there on, you can reverse engineer to say, where does the product get made? What is the typical gross margin I would like to operate with? And from there on, you can decide a lot of things. No? For the first product to take shape. And I think all of this is really 8 to 12 months. And people think ये 4 हफ्ते में हो जाएगा, हम कहीं पे ट्रेडर से ले लेंगे, etc. But problem क्या है ना, as an entrepreneur, you also want to get it right? And you're like, stock आ गया, बिका नहीं तो, so you want to keep perfecting. And that perfecting thing takes months.
Okay.
And then after that, you have something that you are happy with. And then you take it to the same customers you spoke to and they say, ye kya hai? Lal kaun rakhta hai? Right. That is another sort of iteration. So it's typical sort of 8 to 12 months before the first product is there in your warehouse, which is typically your own bedroom or room, right? Hall bhi le jate hain, balcony bhi le lete hain, right? And then from there, the journey starts. And then I think things are a lot more democratic. In terms of licenses, etc., I think different platforms vary. You must have some form or shape of a company. It can be a partnership, it can be a private limited and all of that, which I think I'm not the best person to sort of get a good sort of CA. And typically you'll find some friend who's a CA, and ये सब चीज़ करना होता है. You can't go in saying कि here are the 5 things I need, which is a lawyer, a CA, ये वो. You would be like, भाई मैं start कर रहा हूँ, please help कर, right? संडे को तो है, 2 घंटा निकाल सकते हो. एंड ऑफ कोर्स यू गो एंड से 2 hours ले लिया तो यू सडनली टेक लाइक at the end of 2 hours you say coffee order कर लेते हैं, you get half an hour more and they say यार इसके साथ biscuit खाना है क्या, let me Zepto it or whatever, right? And you buy as much time because that is how a lot of the jugaad happens, you know. And then you get started by listing on any of the platforms, photo shoots, etc. I mean, many of our products we used to shoot in our phone and list it. Totally not proud about, right? And if my team finds out today, they'll be like, हमारा तो इतना आप pinpoint करते हो, ये ठीक नहीं है, वो ठीक नहीं है, when it's professionally shot. But we've done all of that,
right?
And then you kickstart,
right?
And then I think the first thing that we learned was really setting a mission of one order a day. You know,
Okay.
Because the problem with entrepreneurship is also unlike a job, जहाँ पे milestones are slightly clearer. Right? You know कि your manager says आज ये करना है, कल ये करना है, 6 महीने बाद ये, 1 साल बाद ये appraisal, then 2-3 years में promotion, etc. The milestones are never clear when you start up. So we always broke it down to one order a day. पहला order लाना है by whatever means, right? If it means building में सबके पास जाके अरे order करो, यहाँ से करो, तो करो, right? But somehow you get your first order a day. And then you say 5 days I'm going to have one order a day.
Right.
And then that keeps growing थोड़ा बहुत, and you keep multiplying, saying कि 5 हो गया तो 15 कर लेते हैं, 15 को 30, and suddenly you have one order every day. And then from there the journey starts.
Right.
But this itself is in my view 12 to 18 months. And people might say अरे नहीं 6 हफ्ते में भी हो जाएगा, but realistically I've seen it all play out to land up at 12 to 18 months for some reason.
अगर Zouk की बात करें तो because you are PETA approved also, you are a vegan brand, तो उसके लिए like how did you research on products, how did you source your products, and the designing of, as it's inspired by Indian culture, how did you incorporate that in your designs? What was the process?
So for us, because we thought about some of these early on, so the proudly Indianness was very clear to say वो distinction होगा, right? That means it has to be modern in functionality, right? And very proudly Indian in style, right? So that was very clear. And we at this stage we are still thinking very product first. We are not thinking brand, right? So still at a product level, that's what we were thinking. I think the other piece on veganism was actually very different journey for us. We as engineers actually looked at what are the different materials that makes up a bag, and we realized most brands were priding on finest animal based leather, etc., right? Italian leather, animal based leather, etc. And we said ये बनता कैसे देख लेते हैं, right? So we sort of looked at a few videos on YouTube. These were horrific videos, right? And we said यार अगर हमारा life का काम ये है तो we cannot be part of this. Both Disha and me are vegetarians, right? We said we are not going to be a part of this thing. And that's when we started researching a bit and realized कि animal based leather के properties क्या है, right? And see, I think इसमें भी I feel like if we were part of the industry from early on, we might not have thought of it this way. We might have said ऐसे ही बनता है, right? Industry ऐसा ही है,
right?
We keep hearing that a lot more, especially from channel partners, and say why, right? And the why when I ask is when people are like, what do you mean why? मतलब ये है ऐसा, right? But that's what we thought कि what are the properties and how we can sort of bring in a substitute. And that's when our journey of it started. And when we did that, in fact, about 5-6 years back, I think about 4.5-5 years back, when we went live on Instagram, in one of the posts we had written, and these are vegan bags, right? And we used to get comments saying कि अभी bag में भी vegan होता है क्या, ये क्या है, right? To today, a lot of our customers wear it as a social badge to say हमारा bag vegan है,
right?
And that is happening across categories. So and bags, I think we've done it, and many other categories, other brands have done it to bring in that thing of saying कि you can be cruelty free and you can still get good quality products at the best price.
Right. Okay. And आपके manufacturers, मतलब how did you look into manufacturers? Are they distributed somewhere else, or you have your own manufacturing unit?
Yeah, so for us, that has also been a journey, to be honestly. We were very passionate about designing the product. I think supply chain was something which was very far behind, to be honest. It really started with Disha going to Dharavi, right? And convincing or trying to convince one person to agree to follow this random girl, right, who had no clue about this category or had never done sort of business, was saying these random things कि हम vegan leather लेंगे, हम fabric लेंगे and उसको जोड़ के बनाएंगे. And people are like ऐसे नहीं बनता, right? But we've been lucky that a couple of people took a chance, said कि चलो बनाते हैं, and that's how that journey started. To today, we have very trusted partners. We have a very strong team in house who sort of built these relationships and know that their responsibility is to give the highest quality product. Right? And in fact, in our category, we are known to be the toughest QC people. Right? Our quality checks are the most toughest, and many people ask us in the first meeting when they, after meeting my team, they meet me. They say, "Sir, हमने सुना है ये है, हमें डर लगता है." I said, "Good, आपको पता है ना, because India deserves quality."
Right.
Always it's been like export का माल है तो quality देंगे. And I said, why? ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. Right? Indians also deserve quality. We should make good quality products. Right? Again, if we were from the industry, we would have thought a little differently. I said, चला लेते हैं, क्या ही जाता है. Right? But no. But that is how we have progressed in supply chain also.
How do you ensure quality check? Like
each and every product of Zouk is checked actually. Each and every product is checked manually.
Okay.
To see that the quality is good.
At different levels or like to...
At different levels, in fact. Right? And that is still a work in progress. I mean, even today we have at least a year to year and a half book of work on just quality itself. Right? And Abhishansa, in fact, for us, we've been blessed with some people who have been very passionate about quality. Right? So passionate that today, like we spoke about the concept of veto, on quality Disha and I don't have veto. There is our head of quality who has veto on it. So he can say, I disagree with Pradeep's decision on this. मुझे लगता है ये reject है, so it has to be rejected. Right? And we have a lot of trust on him and the team. That because they are super passionate about it. So it really comes from that philosophy of saying कि हाँ, we will only accept this, we will not accept, and then everything flows.
Oh. Manufacturing unit but different जगहों पे होगी या it's your own मतलब
no we have partners.
You have partners.
Yeah.
So when we have partners, there is an concept of copying and original copy हो जाती है. So how do you ensure or how do you ensure that doesn't happen? Or how do you deal with it when it happens?
Yeah, no, absolutely. See, though imitation is the best form of flattery, to be honest, but like many categories, even in our categories, this happens. But in all honesty, we're very small. I mean, look at even large legacy players. Most of them are copies of Western designs. Right? So that has always existed. For us, our belief is that we have to keep innovating. So we're one of the few companies in this space where we invest in R&D. Right? So we have a full-fledged team. In fact, that was the first team where we've been hiring from campus. And we've been hiring year on year. Right? So I think innovation and product development is sort of the first one. Right? I think second is also the brand itself. Right? So ensuring that the brand is the moat, so that even if somebody sees it, say, "हाँ ये तो Zouk का copy है," या "ये तो Iodex का copy है," for that matter. Right? And I'm just pulling out random sort of brand names. So I think that is very critical. You can take the legal route and all of that, but it is not there yet in India. Right?
Okay.
It is still hard. Right?
Okay.
So for any young entrepreneur who's worried about copying, I would say if you're that worried about it, get even more worried about customers. Right? Because that is what should keep you awake at night. Thinking, why are my customers not picking me? What are they picking? Why are they picking? That is more critical, I feel. The rest will follow.
You mentioned about incorporation of Indian designs in your bags. Do you associate with artisans on that?
Yeah. So in fact, the idea of working with vegan leather and fabric is very new. I mean, you'll typically had jhola bags which was completely fabric only.
Right.
Whereas we've spent time to work with skilled artisans who have built this, and today our partners also have very skilled artisans who work with it.
Okay. And what kind of crafts you have incorporated in your designs?
So for us, our prints are sort of our heroes, right? And we take a lot of inspiration from the different parts of India.
Right.
So for example, there was the Bidri art form, right, which is very popular locally, but many people don't know about it. So we said, let's take some inspiration from there. And we have an in-house team for print design as well.
Okay.
Right? And they put that together and designed it together. And we bring that out. And when we do that, we bring out the story of that place.
Okay.
We have something which is the Kolkata Nuo, which is inspired from sort of the, sort of the cultures of Kolkata. So that we bring out.
Okay.
So we pick a lot of parts of India.
Okay.
And you have different brands do it in a very different way. We think India has so many stories to be told. And a bag is truly an expression of that, because it is something which is very visible when somebody carries it. Which is why Zouk Spotted works. Right? And Zouk Spotted, interestingly, is the second most engaging thing on our sort of Zouk family WhatsApp group.
Right.
The first one is, of course, happy birthday. Right? every day there is a happy birthday XYZ. But after that there is Zouk Spotted. कहीं मैंने ट्रेन में देखा, मैं कहीं रेस्टोरेंट में थी तो मैंने देखा, कोई रील में दिख गया. Right? That keeps happening. So because the bag is such a visible element, right, we said it is truly an expression of who the person is. And how do we bring that Indianness, which is rooted in all of us? Right? How do we bring that out? That's how we thought about it. And that's how every print gets sort of made. And our idea is to continuously keep doing that. Of bringing out different parts of the, and we're very blessed that we're in India. Itne cultures hain.
Right.
So the possibilities are endless.
You won't run out of designs.
Run out of designs? I would to say, I don't think we can do justice to all the cultures that are there in our lifetime.
Right.
So we have a long way to go of doing this. So for us, our worry is, okay, as we keep double clicking on different cultures, and because when we learn, we learn even more. But ye bhi hai, wo bhi hai.
Yeah.
How do we ensure all of that comes out? So I think for our team, that is the most difficult one, in fact. And there are some which are mainstream, but there are so many other stories that have not been told. And that's what we keep doing on a monthly basis.
How much is the bag market in India, and especially if we bifurcate into Indian designed bag market, or if we talk about organized bag market, how much is it?
So when we started, we did none of this. So I'll let you out on a secret as well. We're B school grads, so maybe this should have been the natural course of action. But हमने वो सब नहीं किया, honestly. तभी तो सिर्फ gut था and belief था कि कुछ कर सकते हैं. Today, as we spend some more time in the broader market of bags and luggage, right? Because all of them get combined between handbags, backpacks, luggage, etc. Is actually a 25,000 crore market. It's massive. And I think those are also just based on reports. Now, you pick any person on the street, they have a bag, right? Whichever form or shape they have. And we try to do that. And we saw that the number is actually staggering, right? I mean, we've spoken to some of our customers who have 20 plus bags. Bags have a way to sneak into our homes, in fact, right? And they struggle to get out of our homes. Right? So,
that is also true.
Right? So that's what we have seen. It's a very, very large market. And in fact, from our understanding of talking to our customers, we realized there is no Indian bags wala market. There's no ethnic bags. Like it's not like kurta or Western casual, etc. It's the broader generic bag market that we sort of operate in. And the beauty for a lot of upcoming entrepreneurs, when you operate in consumer brands, it's never a winner takes all market. So it is not like Swiggy, Zomato, Ola, Uber, Rapido, right? Blue Smart now. And think about it. Those are spaces jahan pe it was always seemed like a winner takes all, and still I'm able to add 2 more names to it. So consumer brands is never winner takes all, because even in your wardrobe, you will have different products of different brands in the same category. So all of that is true, which is why consumer brands the number of brands that can exist is infinitely large. Right? What I say always is, and this was another one that we spent some time on when we started. Don't get enamored by what comes out in the newspaper, right? Unicorn, right? And I mean, I think the Book My Show founder has a nice way to sort of put it out, to say a unicorn is a mythical animal, right? That's the reality, right? I think when you start off, you have to think of how large a business do you want to create, because it is immensely hard to create the most loved kirana store of your area. Now, if I take this area and I say, I want to start a kirana store, which will be the go-to place. That means maybe 5 years back, I was competing against all the other kirana stores around. वो घर पे भिजवाते हैं, क्रेडिट पे लेते हैं, फोन पे ऑर्डर लेते हैं, so many things.
Right.
And I'm now competing against Zepto, Blinkits of the world as well.
Right.
Right? And ये कहीं जाने नहीं वाला है. मतलब only more players are going to come, more things are going to happen, discounting will happen, quality will matter, all of that is going to happen. So it's immensely hard. And don't think that a kirana store is not a profitable business. Right? I mean, I have had so many friends in school whose parents used to do different kinds of businesses, and they used to have a good life, right? मतलब वो you know that they had good wealth in that sense, right? Not great wealth maybe, मतलब so the number stacks up, great and greatest and greater बहुत ही बड़ा ये है, right? So it's truly what is the ambition of the entrepreneur कि कितना बड़ा business बनाना है, and from there I think it starts, and it can be as small as a kirana store, which could be doing a few crores of business a month, or it can be as large as sort of the largest conglomerates in India that have been built over decades. So I think it starts with that. So the ambition is truly can be different, and which is why I think sometimes I find like entrepreneurs and founders means investor hona chahiye, a few $1 million ka raise hona chahiye, all of that. No, actually not. There are so many entrepreneurs around us. Right? Even that one person who took a call to be a driver, car owner himself and put 5 more cars on Ola, Uber, right, is an entrepreneur. Right. And there are some companies which are fairly large who are now funded as well, who just do this. Right? So, and we had a chance to meet the founder of that also. So there are so many flavors of entrepreneurs itself. So India mein har cheez bada market hai. What you do with it and what is your ambition and what is your moving ambition. It need not be the same कि मैं 5 साल पे वहाँ पहुँच गया तो फिर हो गया, मैं और कुछ नहीं करना, लाइफ धन्य हो गई, वो नहीं है. It is a moving number, and that's what the opportunity presents. Same in our category or in other categories.
So you guys founded Zouk in 2016, right? And you were bootstrapped till 2020. So you know both the flavors, bootstrapping and funding. Tell me how does it feel for both the things? What were your learnings and how it is different?
Yeah. So while we started the company in mid 2016, we spent actually a full year developing the product. Right. So when I say 9 to 12 months to develop product, that was our journey. And then after that is when we did a year of exhibitions. So we did a full year of 50 plus exhibitions. We would meet our customers in person. They tell us a lot of feedback about the product, the price, what are they looking for, what did they not like, and all of that before we went online. So the online journey is still more recent, but the offline journey for a D2C brand, which is very surprising to sort of hear, was actually that. So in that sense, that is how we sort of started, right? And what was sort of your exact question in terms of the two journeys, right?
Yeah, two journeys.
So we started as a bootstrap business, primarily because we were doing business for the first time. We were in fact, we put in about 25 lakhs of our own money over a period of time. So it was never ki
Exactly.
Disha, Pradeep, 25 lakhs, let's start. No, for a period of time we invested that money. But for us, the switch from bootstrap to getting in external investors were actually based on two things. The first one is we were actually not taking bold enough decisions. And bold enough small decisions, right? Expanding the team, right, investing in the brand a little bit, etc. We were not doing that. So that is when we felt, let's bring in investor. वो cushion आएगा तो हम push करेंगे, right? And surprise, between the first and second round, business more than doubled. Okay. And we had not touched the money at all. So we were still a profitable business. The second one was really the mentorship of what came in with it. In fact, when we raised our first round from Titan Capital, which is Kunal and Rohit, who run Snapdeal and then started Titan Capital, and today they have 285 portfolio companies, right? And massive, the count of unicorns is truly there. Right? Early investors in Ola, Razorpay, Mamaearth, Honasa, etc. Right? A lot of them. So when we met them and Bipin from the team is when we realized that the mentorship is super valuable, because they said okay, you guys are purely D2C only, selling through your own website.
Right.
Have you thought of consumers who are actually going to marketplaces
Mm-hmm.
who might be looking for your product, but you're not there?
Right.
So you have to expand, and it doesn't cost you much or anything to
Mm-hmm.
go online and join these marketplaces and sell over there.
Mm-hmm.
Which aaj seems very basic. In fact, when you asked me how to start a business, I said Amazon even before our own website, right?
Mm-hmm.
But those are what sort of they brought in
Mm-hmm.
the first conversation itself. And then from the second or third conversation, they said, dream bigger, right? You can do a lot more than what you think you can do. So they've pushed us to think far bigger than what we could potentially sort of think at that point. So I think that's what investors bring into that, and good quality investors, right? And they've seen journeys, they've seen sort of ups and downs in their portfolio, right? And along that, in that round, we had Varun from Mamaearth who invested, and we were in fact his first angel check.
Okay.
Right? And then we had Ashutosh and Priyank from Beardo, who now run Rene Cosmetics, who invested in that round.
Okay.
And they all brought in their perspectives on brand building, on distribution, on sales, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was the right time, right? Because we were not taking bold enough calls, and capital allowed us to take those calls. And also the mentorship was right there for us to take. And these were people who have gone through these same questions. They've gone through each and every of these questions and have done good work, built very successful businesses, and that's how that journey happened. So I would always say that's what it is. Today, capital is a lot more widely available.
Mm-hmm.
Capital comes with a certain responsibility as well, right? So each one should judge for themselves, but you have to put the company first. And if your decision making is not good for the company, then whatever enables that, you need to do. And that's what capital did for us.
You mentioned about exhibition, like you guys were like first exhibition, first brand. तब आप दोनों ही थे या you had a small team with?
So we had one member more, right? And that was the company. Right? So yeah, I mean that was the company. I used to be there on the weekends,
Yeah.
but it was Disha who was running it for a full time with that other person. And then we grew the team or company. In fact, let me tell you a secret. The first office we had, we have never shown it to our parents. अगर वो देख लेते हैं तो वो उसी दिन बंद हो जाते, right? We've never shown it to them. It was that small, right? So, and we have people who have been with us from there. Like we have our first 2-3 members who still continue working with us. So every time we see a large warehouse or an office, they say, sir, काफी progress कर चुके हैं, because they've seen all of that with us.
You mentioned about marketplaces, being on marketplace. What are the pros and cons of your own website versus being on marketplaces? I know both need to coexist, but what are the pros and cons?
So I think own website allows you to tell your story, because every brand is a promise that you make to a customer, and it is always connected to a broader story of who you are. Right? Because I always feel a brand is also a person. So your own website allows you to tell that story. Right? So if I say, hey, what is Local Samosa? You'll be able to describe it on your website. If it's on some other portal or whatever, you are restricted by many things. Right? So the first place is that, to tell your own story. It can be to new potential customers. It can be to your existing customers. It can be to potential employees you want to hire. All of this. Right? Your own website allows you to do that. The second thing is, to some extent, your own website allows you to control your destiny in terms of traffic, right? Because any website traffic that comes in, if we launch a new product, for example, we can direct traffic to those pages to get feedback much faster. On the marketplaces, you are part of their funnel of traffic, but they have large traffic. So there is an inherent behavior that you have when you want to buy X over Y. Right? Today, if we think phone, probably we're going to go online first most of the time.
Right.
But if we think apparel, it is 50-50 to some extent. In some cases, in many cases, offline is even bigger channel, and you might have your own favorites. Right? Like for example, in Lokhandwala, for years I've heard of this store called City Girl. I don't know, it's very popular, right? And they might be shrinking in size or whatever, right? But it is the go-to place. So there are all of these mix of things
Okay.
that exist. So the marketplace is one of those places where consumers are already there and your potential customers are there, and it starts with it's nice to be there to over a period of time saying you have to be there. If you're not there, then you don't exist.
Right.
So that is what I think is the paradigm between the two. Other thing like how much you spend, how much you earn, etc., is actually a very different game, right? So what you spend on customer acquisition on your own website by spending on Meta or Google could be a lot more, for example, than even what you pay as commissions to Amazon. And then you of course spend on ads as well, and they have different means to sort of charge you. So all those are separate, right? And you have to do the math for yourself to figure out. But the high level one allows you to tell the story, and the other one is where customers are. And then when it allows you to tell the story, it also allows you to connect with the customer. Because the marketplace will not tell you who's the purchaser.
Yeah.
Whereas here, you connect with the customer, you can have a real conversation with them. In fact, couple of weeks or last week, we had one of our customers who spent 1.5 hours with us, right? And I don't know why, right? Like, why would she take out 1.5 hours of her life to spend time with Zouk and tell us what she liked, what she didn't like, etc.? And we have tons of these conversations, which D2C enables us to do. Whereas a marketplace, it's far harder because you don't get their numbers, you don't know who they are.
You can't retarget them with more things.
No, see, retargeting is a very different beast. Right? For me, retargeting is much later. The first is who's your customer and why are they choosing you, or why are they not choosing you for some other things, is even more important. Because sometimes we convert customers into numbers. Right? We try to give them a demographic description of who they are. Right? It is the marketer's paradise, right? But business is not built that way, right? In fact, I mean, Jeff Bezos has a nice way of putting it. He says you have to figure out the real truth, and the real truth can be just from one customer also, right? In fact, there's a famous thing around during their early days. Their customer service was not that great. And think about it. And you're talking about Amazon. Right? We rate them very high today, and the problem was that it took too long for somebody on the other side to pick up the phone. And of course, somebody presented the data and said, no, it's on average 2.5 minutes, whatever. So he said, great. If it's 2.5 minutes, I'm going to call customer support right now and then let's see what happens. And that call of his took 20 minutes before somebody picked up the phone. And he said, your data says 2.5. But if this can happen to me, and it's not like people say Jeff Bezos or redirect to head of customer support will pick up now, then it can happen to some, which means this is also a truth. Let's investigate this. Right? And that is just one customer experience. That's what we believe in. Ki, theek hai, data might say, mota sab khush hai, right? But that doesn't matter at all. Because some are very happy and some are very unhappy. So we want to solve for the very unhappy as well. So those things are still more D2C driven. Because otherwise you'll be like, oh, great review rating, returns percentage is far lower than category, right? Month on month growth ho raha hai. Us versus category, we are growing far more. Over a period of time, you start tracking market share. All these numbers will say all good things only, right? But what is the customer saying is totally missing here.
So how easy or difficult it is to get on the marketplaces, and what are the steps for a lay person you have to explain?
Yeah, so marketplaces have made things a lot more democratic now. Many times earlier, it used to be about you need to know the category manager.
Okay.
And then you got to talk to them and pitch the idea, etc. But I think in a platform like Amazon now, you can just register and it's a lot more self-serve to get started. Right? Okay. At the end of the day, business is also about trust and relationships. So over a period of time, you have to build those relationships with them. But you can get started pretty much easily in some of these. And I know of most other marketplaces who are also building this out.
Okay.
To say, let's make it very easy to have millions of sellers join the platform and start off. And then over a period of time, we'll tier them based on the size of business, etc. And then grow them.
तो उसमें होता होगा ना कि एक MOQ चाहिए होगा या they would do the quality check for your products. वैसा होता है?
So when we started, this has been a few years now for us, right? So at that point, of course, there was an agreement. We spoke to somebody. They asked for a sample of products, etc. But I believe now that is probably not needed
Okay.
because they've also become smart on identifying metrics. इस पे metrics आप लगा सकते हो कि hey, what is your returns percentage, what is happening to the sell through rate, etc. And they're also making it more democratic for more people to join. So that's what is happening now, and it's not true for all marketplaces. I know some जहाँ पे आपको still you need to know the person and all of that, but in some others you don't need to.
And are you guys also on quick commerce, or you guys are planning anyway?
So we are on Swiggy,
Okay.
but very limited
Location.
In fact, only one pin code in Bangalore so far. Been very positive. So hopefully we'll expand. I think every brand is now going quick commerce.
Right.
So we'll also be part of that soon.
No, I read a ad very recently. AC bhi ab. So I was like,
PlayStation,
yeah,
AC, fan. So many categories are coming there.
Right.
So yeah, I mean they're doing a fantastic job. उन्होंने truly customer behavior को change किया है.
Right.
And I think we'll wait for when that sort of happens, and we'll also be part of that.
So a lot of people have, like, entrepreneurs have inhibitions when, considering funding rounds. How can we prepare for those rounds?
Sure. So every funding round allows you, नहीं बोलूँगा, but pushes you to think a little bit more long term. All of us are, right now worried about May 2nd हो गया है. Make our targets, right? Make our top line, make our bottom line, make our production, make a marketing plans, all of that, right? That is in our minds at all points. And it's irrespective of size of business.
Yeah.
Spoken to folks who run, thousands of crores of business, they're also like, आज का MIS and ये तो है, right? But funding round allows you to take a step back, think about what is the 3 to 5 year vision, right? It allows you to sort of do lot more deeper analysis on what is the market, how does it look like, branded, unbranded, etc. And I think that is the first piece that many of us young entrepreneurs, right? I also like to believe that we are young, right? We are truly young. We're very truly just getting started in our category. It allows us to do all of those exercises. That is the first one. And maybe we run away from it on the day-to-days, but it allows us to do that. And one must start with that. Because an investor is betting on not just the past historical performance. They're also betting on what is the broader story, who are the people who are going to do that, right? And what does capital unlock for that, right? And that is how they look at it. So I think that is the first place that one invests in. And then you can sort of bring it down into, hey, this is my market, this is the market size, these are some nuances of the market that I am aware of, this is the gap, and in that gap, this is what I am bringing to market, and why I believe I have the right to win, right? And what capital can do to build this, and why are we the right people to get this capital to build this business. I think in a very high level, this is what investors are all looking at. And even if we both have to invest in some companies, that's what we will look at. Right? I think the second piece is around, so far you have been the boss only, right? But the investors and the good quality investors are very clear that they are not running the business. You are running the business. They are there to help. They are there to bounce off some ideas. And they are there to support your vision with something which is most critical, which is capital. Right? Because I always say कि listing में तो सब अच्छा लगता है, but the hardest step is to give 50 rupees to buy something or $1,500 to buy something. Money is a very hard one, right, to give away, and that's what they do.
Right.
And rightfully, they expect a few things. I think the first one is that you run it with complete transparency and governance. The second one is that you give them good returns. Right? And the definition of good, great can vary quite a lot. Right? And third one is they come with certain time frames, because they have also made a promise to their limited partners when they raise the fund कि इतने time में मैं return दूंगा या दूंगी. And that's what it follows.
Okay.
But it really starts with all of this, accepting that there's going to be a partner who's joining you in this journey.
Right.
They're not going to be running the business. You have to, right? They're going to give you different perspectives, and this is what their expectations are.
What are the consumer trends that you see in bag industry or footwear industry?
Yeah, so I think first one is that uh, I think a lot more brands are coming up, and I think consumer is also becoming more brand conscious. Second one is we can be today, as I like to say, we are one of the top brands in the bags category in Chembur, right? And from Chembur we can operate pan India. That's what online does compared to 5-8 years back, where we have to have a store in Agartala to service maybe 5 kilometer radius in Agartala itself. Right? So online is allowing that to happen. I think these are the two big trends. I think beyond that, consumers buying, how many are they buying, what use case are they buying is pretty much similar to what has been happening. But the two big ones has been brand conscious and online has allowed this category to also be built.
And can you share your learnings of building the brand Zouk in the fairly cluttered category?
I think the first step, and this is what Disha and me learned the hard way, is brand is different from product.
Yeah.
And our also advice to any young entrepreneur is start with product. Because customer cares about the product, right? And then comes the brand over a period of time. So sequence, we think we got it right. We didn't say पहले सब जगह Zouk के billboards दिखेंगे फिर देख लेंगे product ठीक है कि नहीं. No, first we have to get the product right that the customer is happy about, and then we say, oh, by the way, ना इस product का नाम Zouk है and this is what Zouk stands for. Right? But the first step of brand building is to separate the two out. To say this is the product and this is the brand and this is what the brand stands for. I think that is the first one. Second one is to be very clear ki what does the brand stand for, right? And what does say, and let me simplify it, right? At all points we felt we should sign a celebrity, but the biggest question was what should the celebrity be saying about Zouk? Because if that is not clear, you can sign anybody and nothing will happen. So the second one is really what does the brand stand for? Needs to be messaged in a very, very clear and crisp way. Because then that can go into your website, into social media, into influencers, into celebrities, onto packaging, everywhere. Right? So brand separate from product. What does the brand stand for? That messaging has to be clear. Right? And then comes the third piece on saying ki, does that even resonate with the customer? Because if the customer doesn't care about it, then there are only 2-3 people who care about it, which is you, your co-founder, and maybe the admin staff or the watchman in the building. Otherwise, others are like, पकार मिल रहा है, हम कर रहे हैं, बिक रहा है तो हम आ रहे हैं. Right? So I think these are sort of the key ones. You are clear that brand is separate, it stands for this, and the consumer or customer cares about this, then you have won the battle of brand.
When we're talking about marketing, what are your key marketing objectives now? And how do you plan to, like, which channels do you think are working for you or you want to explore?
So for us, the marketing has in our minds only two objectives. One is purely building brand awareness, that more people need to be aware of Zouk and what Zouk stands for. And the second one is because of this awareness, people should buy products. So we come from that school of thought saying कि marketing spend कर रहे हो तो revenue आना चाहिए, right? It's not for brand manager or for Disha or for me or the team to feel good कि क्या film बनाया मजा आ गया. 100 people saw it. 99 out of the 100 are from Zouk itself. One is a partner of ours who saw it, and we're all happy कि है मजा आया. No, right? More people need to be aware of it, and more people need to buy products based on that. So that is how we look at it. We are still, Abhishansa, very small, so we're very early days for us, which is why we take a lot more online first approach.
Right.
And that is where we are very clear on what we put out on social media. Right? And of course, we falter few times, but clearly, this is what the brand stands for. This is what we'll do. This is what we'll not do. And we leverage our entire sort of Instagram and YouTube follower base and subscriber base to talk to them about the brand by putting out content. Right? So that is the first piece. Second is, of course, paid marketing, be it Meta, Google. We do performance marketing there. And over a period of time, we've taken a very data-first approach towards improving that. And similarly, performance marketing we do on Amazon, Myntra, etc., which has now become kind of very table stakes. Ki karna hi hai, right? So that we do. Right. The third piece is really on saying ki, who are we as a brand? Today, we're at certain size where our customers also expect something better. Right? Ki if somebody says, ye kaun sa brand hai? And the customer also feels, hey, I feel passionate about this brand, but how come you're not aware? Right? And that is where our journey of, working with celebrities started. And that is where, we signed Sara Ali Khan as the brand ambassador. And she's been amazing for us because who she is, what she stands for, is exactly the modern Indian women persona that we as a brand stand for. And that partnerships has been like really, really good for us. And again, that is to sort of talk about who we are as a brand, what do we stand for, and who better than her to say it. Right? So those have been sort of the layers of what we have done in brand marketing and general marketing itself. And we of course work with many influencers who are very happy and proud to carry a proudly Indian product, right? Something that carries our entire world in it, right? And that continues, and that's how we sort of build more awareness.
You mentioned about Instagram and YouTube. So how is social media placed in your marketing mix? How much does it matter?
Heart and soul. Right? हमें TV नहीं आता, हमें billboards नहीं आता, radio, newspaper नहीं आता, because those are all something that we've never done. It's not like we'll not do it.
Okay.
I think it's a certain journey, and I think the way to sort of think about it for young entrepreneurs is all of those are one large ticket expense, and then you pray that it worked. Whereas I think all the social media channels is a lot more pay as you grow. Right? When you start, you can start with 100 rupees. You can start with, Disha shooting a video of me carrying a bag. Right? I mean, why would somebody buy if I am the face of the right? Nobody's going to buy. But you can start with that, right? But you can't take this creative and put it on TV because you've burned through a few lakhs, if not crores of rupees, and you never know what works. So the social media way of building out the brand is a pay as you grow sort of model, right? And when you start, you can afford X, then maybe you can afford 3X, then you can afford 10X. At some point, it's almost same, and maybe social media is even more expensive than the traditional marketing channels, right? At that point, you should be ready to sort of take that leap and switch. It's similar to starting D2C versus offline store. The day you decided to sign a store and you made the store, you're down a few lakhs. Then you hope pray ki business hoga, right? But at some point, your store will have better economics than an online business because all the algorithms for all the different social media is also triggered towards one way, which is they also are running a business and they want to make more money from advertisers, right? So that is the journey. We still remain in the social media space a lot more. And then as we build out the company from here, we'll go a lot more traditional media as well.
You also spoke, Pradeep, about like a little bit of brand awareness and also about performance marketing. How much split does it go here?
Today we are probably about 10, no, not 10, I think about 15-20% in brand marketing, right? Because I think brand marketing is an important spend. I think many brands don't take it very seriously. At this point, we are taking a long-term view. Like we're not saying May sales, then June sales. And of course, it's not like we don't care about it. We care about it 70% of the time, if not more, right? The 30% is also what are we going to do 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line. And that is where the brand marketing is important. And we're also learning, very honestly. We don't know the right or wrong answer today. Right? And that's again another thing that, getting external investors allows you to do. It allows you to experiment. And the outcome can be fantastically good, right? So I think those are other ways where we are sort of experimenting to see. We still believe we are underinvested in brand marketing to do a lot more from here.
We were partners in Vegan Creators Day.
Yeah.
How was your experience working with content creators?
No, it's been amazing, to be honest. We've worked with a lot of content creators for a period of time. But they have typically only been a DM. हमने उनको DM किया, उन्होंने हमको भेजा, and it's been a message exchange, and then we saw some content. So we said, this is not a relationship. This is just exchange of messages. So why don't we do a physical event?
Okay.
And that is how it started. And we did our second one time, and you all have been kind to us on both sides, both times to be a partner, right? And that is when we met them, right, as human beings, and we saw how passionate they are also about the cause. They have a lot of different engagements, but then they still come down, they talk about sort of what they do, right? They they also a lot more open in those conversations, right? Because otherwise I feel in chats it's a lot more commercial.
Transactional हो जाता
it
है.
is बहुत transactional हो जाता है, right? So I think it has been amazing for us. We continue to sort of be doing that. We will be doing that this year as well. I hope we'll partner this year as well,
Definitely.
right? And we'll continue doing that, honestly. And it's nice to meet them,
Right.
Because they've been a core part of Zouk as well. Many of them, if not all of them, have actually taken the Zouk message to so many of their followers and subscribers. So it's nice to meet them in person. And that's what we feel. I think at the end of the day, business तो trust पे build होता है, right? And trust तो आपको मिल के ही पता चलता है कि कौन है, क्या करते हैं, etc. Right? Because all of us have our ups, our downs, our issues, etc. But मिलते हैं तो सब becomes a lot more. And that's what it seems. So it's a very key part of that. We do that every year, the month of November. I don't know if the team is thinking of changing I don't look at that department. Disha looks at it, to be honest. But we'll definitely be doing it. And it's a very exciting time for us to meet them in person.
Other than Vegan Creator Day, how are influencers in your marketing mix?
So the thing is, in many cases, the influencers have a lot stronger connect with people than most other mediums, to be honest. So we have seen that happen. In some cases, of course, there are the odd ones जहाँ पे ऐसा लगता है यार engagement is not as much as what we thought, and क्या bot followers हैं, क्या है, and all of that. Right? But otherwise, always it has been good for us. What it has also done is they have a unique way to express what proudly Indian means, right? And to some extent, let's not forget, influencers and content creators are also customers, right, of Zouk, of many other brands across categories, right? So they also give us a sense of what is the ideal imagery they have of somebody carrying a Zouk bag, right? What is the ideal imagery that a customer of Zouk has when they carry a bag? So that has been very helpful for us. But beyond that, of course, I mean, they have told our story and taken it to so many people. And we've been working with them from very early on. And yeah, I mean, and नाम कभी-कभी खराब होता है उनका unnecessarily. We have truly felt that almost all of them have been very honest.
Okay.
And they work very hard, right? People think it's too easy. Right? It is super hard to be a creator. I mean, that is what I feel ki, they are working supremely hard. And when we met at the events, they said, हाँ सुबह एक event है, हम फिर यहाँ आए, फिर ये content बनाना है, और फिर ये करना है, and then I'm trying something else. And and then at the end they say, and then we have a full-time job. I'm like, whoa, I mean, you are multitasking to some other level, right? So they're also working very, very hard. So yeah, I mean, they're very critical to our sort of marketing strategy. But beyond that, we think of them as partners in this journey, which is why the physical event, etc. also we thought, to say, let's meet them. Right? क्योंकि देखो product भेज के content डालेंगे वो तो हो ही रहा है, right? It's not going anywhere. So we don't have to meet, right? In that sense. But the meeting is for a very different sort of reason.
What kind of content creators you get on board with?
Yeah, so we typically have a lot of them who are from the lifestyle side, fashion side. And then aside from that, we do different campaigns for different times. So for example, we did 1 month which was just on people who do book reviews.
Okay.
So, and again, all of these are ideas from the team, right? And the team said, let's do some with book reviews, na? So the entire month with book review, content creators.
Yeah.
And we keep mixing and matching that. And the criteria is very clear that we'll work with people who are very honest in their content, right? We're not ones who look at follower count too much, right? It is a lot more about how honest are they with the content, how is the engagement on that, do people connect with them or not? I think that's what we have seen has worked well for us.
You spoke about Sara Ali Khan being the brand ambassador of Zouk, and you mentioned why you chose. What are the ideal thing you were looking, and then you confronted?
So I think two parts to it. One is the art part, and one is the science part of it.
Okay.
The art part of it is to say who we are as a brand, what do we stand for, what are the things we are looking for in a person who would be the brand ambassador for the brand, and then exploring all the options that are there. Some might be already signed with somebody else, so they can't sign with competition and all of that. And through that process, I think from the time we connected with Sara's team, we were clear that, hey, I think he's the right fit for us. Okay? And she was the right fit for that side, like when we were at that size of business. Right? So I think that was sort of one.
But what was art and science?
Yeah, so the art part is this, right? Which is a lot more qualitative sort of calls. The quantitative call was to say, if we spend X and then we spend Y on distributing, the fact that he's our brand master, etc. What is the Z outcome in business that will come? This is super hard to do, right? And we've spent quarters and quarters in trying to figure out this equation. But I think the only way to do it is to just do it and then see how it plays out. So this is similar to sort of you launching a product. You feel good about it, but wo hit hoga nahi hoga, wo the market will decide. And the same thing we saw play out here as well. So that's the art and science of signing a brand ambassador, to call it that we have learned. We're also very early days. We've only had one brand ambassador so far. So there are other experts who have done this year and year, and all the FMCG giants have been doing it for multiple people, for multiple brands, for multiple seasons, for multiple geographies, etc.
Right.
We're learning that now.
So what kind of target audience came with Sara Ali Khan? What were you trying to tap in?
No, so the target audience is very similar to who our customers are. So at no point did we say that he's going to bring in a different customer compared to who are already RTG.
Okay.
Right? And we start with working women. So it's not like we said, she's going to bring in college students, for example, or school kids. So we don't operate in the school bags, college bags category. So it was never that. It was more of how do we deepen the relationship with our existing TG and what would feel right. And that's why I think when you sort of go through that process, because this was the first one for us, so we had sort of certain objectives. But I think over a period of time, that also gets refined more and more.
Right.
Okay, are you looking at this TG only? Are you looking at this geography only? And how do you do that? So then it becomes a lot more, what is the problem and what is your solution to it?
Okay. How was your experience shooting your first brand film, and that too with a star?
Yeah. No, I think it was an amazing experience. I mean, the first thing you realize is you are nowhere close to being the expert over there, right? So the best thing to do is stand on the side and let the experts do it. We spent a lot of time on the preparation, where a lot of things around what we felt was right for her to say, what we want to represent, etc. comes in. But after that, on the day, it's the professionals who take over. And she's an exceptional actress, I must say, right? I mean, she's Ivy League educated. Right?
Yeah.
And was brilliant on screen from sort of the first moment itself. And right from the first moment itself, we realized that she was the right fit for what we were trying to achieve at that point. So I think those were sort of realizations for us that happened.
Were you or anyone from the team starstruck?
I think all of us were starstruck, to be honest. I think she has that persona, right? That what you see on social media and what you see in the movies is one notch higher when it comes to shooting in person.
Okay.
So it was a very, very memorable moment. Because see, one thing is you're thinking about that shoot itself happening, which is another milestone for the business. And the second one is also, okay, we are now taking a big leap. So what is going to happen? So it's a mix of joy and anxiety in that sense. See, in all honesty, we have worked with many different celebrities of different sort of genres over a period of time. I think the first one we did was a very, very different experience. This one was still, we knew some parts, many parts were new and unknown for us. So it was a mixed bag in that sense. But I mean, very, very memorable because of sort of the milestone we hit as a company to say, okay, we now want to take the brand to the next level. And we want to invest in the brand to make it fit for our customers to continue carrying with pride.
Right. Okay. And you are quite active on Instagram. That I know. I've been like in continuous in touch with you. But how does your personal brand help in building Zouk? And do you actually actively look at your personal branding for, getting on board, like building a founder's profile for the brand so that customers can trust you and the brand more?
On Instagram, I do none of that. So you'll see me just being myself only. Typically, I don't post anything about, this is what happened in the company today and all of that on Instagram. I've kept Instagram more for viewing, you can say, and resharing some Zouk spotted.
Yeah.
But not much beyond that from building my persona in that sense. On LinkedIn, it's a little different.
Right.
And I've also shifted a bit, and now I'm not that active on LinkedIn compared to maybe 6 months back, where we felt LinkedIn can be used to share some of our learnings, which can be helpful for other entrepreneurs, to be honest. So it's less about Zouk and it'll be more about other things. So for example, that customer visited us, Disha wrote about it. And then she said, customer is not a king or queen. Customer is just a normal person like all of us. Because customers, king and queen, everybody has been saying. Right? Most are not even following it. Most are still looking at, gross margin kitna banega, ऐसा कितना बनेगा, कितना retargeting कर सकते हैं, LTV, CAC, etc. But we said it's a normal person like any one of us. And so those some of the things which, as I like to say, books have said something, famous podcasters, etc. say something else. And then there is the truth which lies somewhere in the middle, right? We want to just share that to help others. And I think from what you said in terms of other speakers as well, I know some of them personally. I think they're all very honest in saying, yaar, ye hai. It's not as glamorous as you think, and it's not as easy as you think. It's somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Because I think otherwise, most other outlets are pushing in two extremes. Some will say, 15 days course kar lo, 15 weeks mein bada business bana lo.
Right.
I don't think that happens. Nor is it like you're going from one high fly meeting to another, taking a flight, taking a limo. No, none of that, right? It's just piecing things together, hard work. As I like to say, 1% improvement week on week to build a large business.
Who amongst Disha and you spend more time on personal branding, or who is more social media savvy?
Social media savvy, definitely Disha.
Okay.
I'll be like, ये कैसे किया तुमने Instagram में? So she'll be like, यार ये तो ऐसा है, right? So definitely her. Personal branding wise, I think both are quite equally there. Right? So we're not very active. We're not active at all.
But is it part of your TDL कि यार हफ्ते में?
नहीं, definitely not. We don't
जब
have
सोचा
that.
तब
हाँ, जब मन किया तब डाल दिया. See, for us, both for Disha and me, almost everything is in the calendar. So I think our teams were very aggressive to block 1.5 hours. I had blocked a lot more time, right? So everything is in the calendar.
Right.
So there is no calendar entry to say, write LinkedIn post and post. We don't have that. It's just when it feels like, let's share this, we'll share it.
Okay. And how about networking? Does LinkedIn or social media helps you in connecting with fellow founders or hiring people?
Yeah. So the benefit of networking and meeting other founders is something that's another one that we've learned from our investors. In fact, because every time we've met somebody who's been in a very similar journey, we can connect, right? Because if you don't connect at a human level, otherwise we like, मेरा sales इधर जा रहा है, मेरा fundraise इधर जा रहा है, ये हो रहा है. But when you connect in a real sort of a separate setup. First, you are like, okay, everybody's on the same boat. These are the common problems, and let's talk. Right? So that happens. So the value of networking we've learned actually from our investors, and now we try to do that as often as possible. We meet through LinkedIn or through WhatsApp groups or through other friends who connect us. Those are sort of the typical means. Not much through Instagram. We connected via Instagram, right? But mostly others have been more LinkedIn, WhatsApp, or somebody connected us, or somebody said, "Hey, I want to meet this person," and then, like I think Disha and Tanya and Sujata from Suta connected over a common WhatsApp group, and then we've been bumping into each other in many events, right? And then we met for dinner sometime, right? And we go to them saying कि यार ये कैसे होता है, and they've been through some very similar situations, so they share. So that's how sort of it starts. In fact, in that, Silicon Valley is very famous because entrepreneurs are very open in sharing, right? And it is a known fact that even very senior guys like Mark Zuckerberg has also met very junior folks who are just starting up to say, this is how I thought about it, and this is how we should build the business. And मतलब ज़मीन आसमान का फ़र्क होगा between the two entrepreneurs at that point, but then that has gotten bridged over a period of time as this person has gained from that advice. I think that I have seen in D2C. It's a very close-knit network.
Okay.
Right? And a lot of people are very open to sort of sharing and helping each other because सबकी अलग problems हैं, right? And कोई ना कोई दूसरा उस problem के through गुजर चुका है.
So does networking events help in building relationships, not just transaction?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's actually about that a lot more. Because see, transaction wise there's no like so कि हम दोनों brands partner कर लेते हैं. No, that doesn't happen there in fact. But it's all about, oh, I met that person, they're building this exciting brand. They talked about this, we talked about this. They said, hey, ye issue hai. We said, ye issue hai. So that is where the connect happens.
Yeah.
And that the networking events are good. In fact, मुझे तो लगता है कि in many of these cases, the audience might not learn as much as the panelists meeting together to just meet. So I feel, अरे वहाँ पे सब मिल जाते हैं एक साथ, and then you connect separately later on.
Yeah. So now you are going to now you have retail channels as well, right? So what are the factors one must consider while from transitioning from D2C to being an omni-channel brand?
I think the first one is you accept and realize like how we went from D2C only to D2C and marketplaces. Offline is another large way through which India buys. In fact, far higher than e-commerce. I think people peg e-commerce, so online retail, to be roughly about 17%, I think, of total India retail. Right? That means 83% is still buying offline, and it can be off by 5% here there. मतलब it 17 होगा तो 25 max हो जाएगा, but 75% plus is still offline purchases.
Okay.
So that's how big the offline opportunity is. And that's what we wanted to embrace. The second one is the DNA of offline is totally different from online. So just to give you an example, my online team will be very happy if I say, is product pay, let's do a special 50 rupees off. My offline team will be like, why 50 rupees off? Why don't you increase the price? Customers right in front of me, I can convince them to buy. Right? Because they're touching, feeling the product, they know they're going to get it right now. They have seen the quality. So it's very different.
Right.
So the DNA wise is also very, very different. So it takes, in my view, at least a good 2 years before the company can be offline ready from the day you started doing offline.
Okay.
So it takes that much when you are so entrenched in online. We were offline first when it did exhibitions. Very different from doing a store, no doubt about it. But when we went online and we've gotten in deep, then the company is oriented towards one way. Now, how do you add offline as well is a different beast.
But according to your experience, how a digital first brand can approach the offline retail? When should they go into it?
Yeah, so you need one lucky break, very honestly. In our case, we had our first store at Nexus Seafoods Mall in Navi Mumbai. And the Nexus group was very kind to take a bet saying कि most others would be like, आपके stores कहाँ पे हैं? And I'm like, हमारे पास नहीं है, इसलिए आपके पास आए हैं. But they were kind of say, chalo, let's start. And they're credited to having started many of these. Like Nika's first store was in the Nexus group.
Okay.
So they took that bet with us. And then that has helped add sort of more stores. And now we continue to expand more.
But koi factors hote hain while,
I think biggest one still remains, see, for the malls also, they have the certain customer base between 18 to 35, which has highest propensity to pay today, which Myntra, Amazon and the online world has done a very good job of stealing away, especially from metros. Like today, if I look at my way of purchasing, I don't think 25% only is online. Probably 25% is offline and 75% is online. So the malls understand that.
Okay.
And hence, you as a brand need to be able to sort of command that thing to say, I can bring this audience to your mall as well. Which is a big deal for them because at the end, their also model works on paying customers coming in, purchasing from brands, spending on food, spending on theater, etc. Right? So I think D2C brands actually are doing a good job of bringing in that audience to the mall because it is weird if they're not there now. Gone are the days where you want only 2-3 brands and 1 or 2 modern trade retailers be there. So both need to coexist. So Zouk needs to be there on the shopper stop aisle along with the other brands. Same goes for us, need to be on Amazon also. And same now is happening from an exclusive brand outlet also. So malls also need us, we also need them. Today, because there are lesser number of high quality malls, the brands are still sort of trying to get a store there and all of that. So the supply demand is slightly different.
Okay.
It is stacked against the new age brands today, but that will change over a period of time. And we've seen that change, right? I mean, today Lenskart has 1,500 stores pan India. 1,500, larger than probably anybody else.
Yeah.
So, some might say they're not a new age brand, but come on, 10 years back they were non-existent and they built this fantastic business so well.
Right. But like opening a retail store is quite capital intensive. How do you manage? Like कितना आपके पास एक backing होनी चाहिए to go for a retail?
No, see, backing is very different. I feel like backing actually has nothing to do with it. In my view, it is actually how much are you willing to back yourself in this decision. That's why I say, right, the Kirana store doesn't come cheap. You realize that now. You suddenly feel ki it might not be as fancy as the thing, but it's actually a big bet that somebody took to take a large space, so much inventory, right, to run that business. So it's less about the capital and it's actually more about taking that bet. And I'm talking about the first store. Going from 5 stores to 20 stores might be a function of a little bit of more capital. And then 20 to 100 stores, definitely a function of capital and team and all of that and expertise. But the first store is a lot more, how much are you willing to back yourself to take that call? Because, at the end of the day, a store might cost you anywhere between 15 lakhs to 30 lakhs to put up a store. Right? And then there are operational expenses.
Yes, monthly.
And then there are monthly operational expenses, which as a brand, you make money on that. So it's not a loss for you.
Okay.
It's that initial capex that you need to put.
Okay.
And anyways, it costs you so much to build the brand out. If you add up all your things around website pe karna hai, social media, over a period of time, it does add up to that much. So,
how many months do you think it takes for you to, in general, to have a break even for an offline store?
No, the lesser the better, no doubt. I think as I talk to more and more people who are a lot more nuanced and know this better, I think they've figured out that it does take time for capex break even to happen, because many will not account for closures where a store is not working out well. They'll not account for things like repairs, etc. So it can vary. I mean, I've heard of some stores of some brands breaking even in 8-10 months also.
Okay.
And some others taking 5 years also, and both the companies are doing well.
Right.
In fact, the 5 years doing even better because they realize that it takes time. They can open a lot more stores and be more bolder.
Okay. What percentage of your sales come from your own website, your marketplaces and retail?
Sure. So I'll not go into the specific numbers, but our largest is our own website. That is our largest channel. And then marketplaces. Offline is a 7-month-old baby now. So it's still very early days.
Yeah.
But I think over a period of time, it will increase. Our hope is that over the next sort of 5 to 6 years, our offline business will be about 25% of our business.
Okay.
So it will increase. And I'm talking about where still 75% plus of India buys offline. Right? So that's how we'll probably see the split play out.
Zouk does also come in affordable category also. So like even a lot of people go to mall like just to chill, and then they spot something nice and they can buy themselves. ऐसा नहीं है कि बहुत ही month का salary save करना पड़ेगा, to buy something like that. So I think that is also a factor for brands like who are in affordable new age kind of brands.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and pricing is a very critical lever in India. And people are not looking for the cheapest product. People are looking for value for what they're paying in terms of functionality, in terms of style, in terms of brand, in terms of what it does to you when you carry the product.
Right.
These are the things our customers have said. And that's why, but price is very critical. And we've always priced it in that sense. That's what we've looked at. And that's where large part of the Indian market is.
Yeah. Your advice to D2C founders who are, looking to hire marketing teams?
Step 1, do it yourself.
Okay.
It is a first principles thinking thing. Don't think कि किसी ने meta ads किया हुआ है तो बढ़िया करेंगे. Otherwise, you would have gone on to just hire an agency to do that. Do it yourself. Everything, do it yourself first. Right? If you have to run ads yourself. You have to shoot content, put it out on social media, do it yourself. Then आप सोचोगे caption क्या डलेगा, hashtag क्या डलेगा, engagement क्या आ रही है,
क्या टाइप का वर्क करता है,
क्या वर्क करता है, क्या नहीं करता, किस सीजन में करता है, टॉपिकल कंटेंट करें नहीं करें, all of that, right? So do it yourself before you hire. And I'm not saying do everything yourself only, but थोड़ा time you should have done it yourself so that when you, मतलब you also have to be realistic about your targets and what you expect from the person. It can't be way off. ये person आएंगे फिर जादू की घड़ी, they will flow and then everything will change. It doesn't happen. It takes time, effort. You are working on with a portal, with an algorithm which is not under your control, which is constantly changing. Right? And the fact that because it's constantly changing, the relevance of what you learned is also dying very fast. So what used to work 3 years back to now is totally different.
Right.
That means evolution is also happening. That means somebody did it for 5 years. Doesn't matter. So, which is why doing it yourself, I think, is the first bit. And then the second is you could then bring somebody on board to whom you set very realistic targets. And then you help that person sort of grow. And then you help that person grow as a leader and help them build their team to grow. And then that cycle of continues.
That's right. You mentioned you are not from a business background. But what are the things you had to rewire in your brain to become an entrepreneur?
I think the first one was to be comfortable with not having finished everything that had to be done. Because so every day when you're in a job, you typically have these 5 things to do in your checklist. And you're like, 4th item ho gaya, 5th item ho gaya, book band, log out and leave.
Right.
Whereas I think when you're an entrepreneur, and it's not just the founders, actually it's the entire team, right? You have to be very comfortable to say, I have 10,000 things to do. I have finished 5 today. There is a lot more to be done, but it's okay. We'll do it tomorrow. And I'm not saying do it tomorrow wala attitude. No, I'm just saying you have to be good at picking the top 5 things and doing it first and then picking the next and being comfortable with it. Because it's, you don't have many goalposts like your traditional large company jobs. So that means you have to be very comfortable to say, ye hai, I'm sure there are more to be done, and be at peace with yourself for that. I think that is the first one. Second is be clear about what are materialistic things and what are other things other outside of that. So बढ़िया ऑफिस तो बाद में ही आएगा जब कुछ थोड़ा तो ग्रोथ होगा तो, right? So all of that we take for granted, right? In fact, when you have new joinees also, I tell them, hey, if you have to book flights, you got to do it yourself. There is no admin को email डाल दूंगा या डाल दूंगी and वो हो जाएगा, right? A lot of it is self-serve, right? And we try to position it nicely to say self-serve, आप खुद कर सकते हो, you have the freedom to do it, etc. But you got to do it yourself. So many things that you take for granted in large companies are non-existent in a startup, right? And it flows across the board. And the third one is, I like to say, the wild swings. So at one point you're looking at revenue for this month, another point you're looking at 6 months down the line wala launch. Next meeting could be about commissions negotiation or something, and then the fourth one will be sir wo electricity ka bill delay ho gaya, wo aaye hue hain wahan pe, right? And you got to deal with all of that in a 2-hour time frame,
right?
So ability to switch through all of this is sort of the third biggest one. And in all of these things, I think our biggest learning has been the team, right? Any time we have hired good people, they do a 10x better job, right, in 1/3 the time. And that's what we've seen, कि हम सब कुछ नहीं कर सकते. So it's contrary to your marketing wala question, right, where you got to do it yourself, but then very soon you have to bring in a person who's going to take care of it, and you hand over and say, I'm here to help you, but you are the boss,
right,
for that. So I think these are the 4 things that at least we've learned.
Talking about it, what is the secret sauce of hiring the right talent and building the team?
Secret sauce to ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है. Very honestly, is very talked about. At least the way we think of it is, there is a will and a skill in any person, right? So there are skills that they're good at, and then the willingness of that person. We over-index on the will because skills सिखाया जा सकता है, but will is very hard. Right? So if the person is ambitious, hungry to learn more, right, go the extra mile,
right,
then that is the will, right? And that we over-index on. We want people who are hungry to do more in their life, and we've been blessed with that continuously. And we do, do a lot of conversations and might reject some people because we feel, they might not be a fit for our org, but that's okay. Right? So I think the will and skill is how we look at people, and we say if the willingness is there, the hunger is there, then I think they're the right fit for us. I think that has been really the biggest one, because at the end of the day, everything else is stacked against you. The large companies have a brand.
Yeah.
They have the wherewithal to pay, all of that. But the hungry ones are like, they're like, हम भी बनाएंगे, हम भी कुछ करना चाहते हैं, right? And that really works wonders. Right? And they do well in life with us or anywhere.
Yeah.
And we've seen so much growth happen for people who joined us very early on, whom we have worked with patiently, and we have taught them. Now they teach us, right? And they own Zouk more than us in many ways. Right? Like I said, quality control, they look at it differently. At customer experience, they care about the customer even more than us.
Yeah.
Right? When it comes to production, when it comes to design, many cases they will say, no, we don't think this will work, Pradeep. This is what I think will work. And they'll go do it. I think that sort of is what we.
ऐसी क्या learnings अभी आपके पास जो आप अपने younger self को देना चाहोगे in life and in business?
I think first one would be take bolder bets. Because अभी लगता है वो काम आए तो पहले कर लेना चाहिए था, right? So bolder bets, be it in brand ambassador signing, be it in hiring in many cases, etc. So I think that would be the first one, right, from a company point of view. I think from a personal point of view is need to work on my health a little bit. So we'll do it this year.
Correct. Mental health के बारे में, entrepreneurs के बारे में ज़्यादा बात नहीं की जाती. Your take on that? How do you deal with it?
Extremely critical, which is why I said the first thing was to really switch off, to say 5 हुए आज, ढेर सारा करने के लिए है, but we will now switch off. I think I think it's the biggest one. I feel like, and very contrary to everything, a company's ability to do more is constrained by the bandwidth of the founders to some extent as well. And वो constraint आता ही है in bandwidth from mental capacity to think. Because a lot of the strategy and thought around what is the mission, vision of the company, what are the resources we have, what to do today versus what to do tomorrow, etc., will come from founders, will come from leadership. And वो is the mental capacity thing. It's not a physical capacity thing. क्योंकि as founders, we don't do much. I mean, we're doing this podcast. The company is being run by professionals and teams, right? But the reality is that सोचने का काम हमारा है. So mental bandwidth is the biggest one, and I think that is the biggest issue, because almost always no company got shut because of capital. It got shut because the founders gave up. कि अब इससे ज़्यादा हम पुश नहीं कर सकते, because I'm sure many people have done far more with far less capital. They said अब हम थक गए हैं. That is what leads to the end of a company. So nothing trumps mental well-being, to be honest.
How do you deal with it?
I think first is to accept कि ये है, there's a lot more to be done. I always look at it differently. I don't look at it as 5 ही हुए. I look at it, यार 5 ही हुए हैं, अभी कंपनी का शेप ये है, and we have so many things to be done. So if I have 9,995 things more to be done, तो कितनी possibilities हैं? So it can get only much better from here on. So I think that is the first piece. Second is surround yourself with good people. Right? I mean, it's better to have somebody to say, हाँ यार ये issue है, than saying, अरे नहीं बहुत बढ़िया होता है. Right? It's important to be told a spade is a spade with people. Right? So I think that has been the second. Third has been actually ask for help. We have learned in the last sort of 12-18 months to be shameless about asking for help. यार बता दो, please बता दो, 5 minute का call, quickly call कर लेते हैं. I have done calls at 11 p.m. Somebody said 11 p.m. Fine, let's do it. Right? And person spent good 25 minutes, genuinely was occupied, and then 11 p.m. gave me good advice on things. Right? So I think asking for help is also important, because it feels like a lonely sort of thing to be done. But there are people around who can really be part of that journey in different ways. So I think those are the key ones. And also have some way to switch off and have a different outlet, have a hobby, etc. And hobby ऐसा complicated नहीं हो. मतलब I can't suddenly be like, आज से hobby violin सीखूंगा. It doesn't happen. मतलब that has to sustain. No?
Right.
So I feel it is as good as saying कि I'm going to just spend half an hour, 45 minutes watching Netflix.
Right.
I do that a lot. Right. That is my way of switching off. Right. And I have to do that at night, so that then I'm like thinking something totally different. But these are all the things that one can do.
आपके एक्सपीरियंस से आपकी लाइफ लर्निंग्स और एडवाइस अगर एस्पायरिंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को देना चाहेंगे तो?
फर्स्ट इज कि एंटरप्रेन्योर ऑप्टिमिस्ट है. ठीक है. द रियलिटी ये है कि लाइक रीड हॉफमैन who founded LinkedIn said this. He said an entrepreneur jumps off the cliff with some materials and then over a period of time makes the parachute. And the test is, can he make the parachute before he falls on the ground? तो वो entrepreneurship है. तो आपको तो optimist बनना है कि हाँ कूदेंगे बन जाएगा. Right? So I think the optimism is very critical. I think that's the first one. Second one is really first principles thinking. We think everything is too complicated. हमें नहीं आता, इंडस्ट्री में ऐसा ही होता है. No, I feel कि if you just spend the time, you will put yourself in the customer's shoe, right? And you should literally like go there, think like a customer, right? I mean, if you go to Myntra or Amazon and you have to genuinely buy your product without putting the brand name, product name, etc., how will you buy? One should do that exercise. It's amazing, right? Like how will you find Zouk website without typing zouk.co.in? Okay? So those kind of things one must do to really understand what is the customer going through, because you exist because the customer exists. That's the reality. And the third is change and ability to sort of be adaptable and to change is very critical. Right? Before COVID, something else was running. And during COVID and post-COVID, D2C came up. So digital was up and running. Things will change. Things will evolve. Matlab, things are moving from D2C to marketplace to quick commerce to offline to who knows, AR, VR में purchases हो, क्या पता, right? But your ability to change, your ability to innovate is very critical.
Right.
So these are sort of high-level gyans, I would say, which we have sort of seen and lived through. I mean, when the first lockdown came, Abhishansa, we were shut for 3 months because we were non-essential e-commerce.
Right.
We couldn't operate. We had a lot of time to think. We had a lot of time to talk to customers. Customers were also sort of free, though work from home I felt was very hard on everyone. पता ही नहीं चल रहा, मतलब that is the true time you say work life balance कहाँ है भाई?
हाँ नहीं.
हम भिंडी भी काट रहे हैं और काम भी चल रहा है.
Right? बर्तन भी धोए हैं,
बर्तन भी धोए
बनाए हैं और calls भी attend किए हैं.
Correct, right? But it gave us a lot of time to reflect and think, and that's where we discovered so many things from our customers. We had to keep them कि आएगा प्रोडक्ट, हम कहीं नहीं जा रहे हैं, हम बंद नहीं हो रहे हैं, आपके ऑर्डर आईडी ये है, जैसे ही खुलेगा आपके पास पहुंचेगा. And then the first day when things opened up was when Disha and I packed everything. We didn't call anybody, packed everything, sent it, and then we were like, चलो भाई orders वापस start हो गई. We restarted and थोड़े टाइम में lockdown 2 आ गया. But this time you are like, हाँ ये आएगा जाएगा, it's fine. Right? I think there is a greater problem that we have than Zouk के orders dispatch नहीं हो रहे. We can live through this.
Right. Thank you so much, Pradeep, for spending time with us at LocalPreneur podcast. It was lovely having you here and discussing the nuances of your business. And we definitely miss Disha.
No, thank you so much, Abhishansa, for inviting me. And this is very close to my heart in terms of what you all are doing. And wish you the very best.
Thank you.